We believe in a God
who would rather surprise than condemn us,
who would rather die than to lose us,
who throws parties to welcome lost people home.
We are a team,
a force,
a community,
a family,
filled with the humble wonder of serving a surprising God.
We practice radical generosity,
experiencing life together,
and the willingness to be used by God.
Anywhere, anytime.
We exist to share this God with a world that needs Him now more than ever.
We welcome anyone to join us, regardless of their past.
Because our God promises
a better than expected future.
I am done. I'm done. Have you ever felt that way? You ever heard someone say that? I'm Matt Anderson from Surprise Church Bismarck, and wherever you're watching from on today's edition of Worship Anywhere, we're going to be talking about what do you do when you feel that way? It's the final installment of our Life on Purpose series. We've been talking about how to use our time, talent, treasure, and steward our feelings in a way that is more intentional and in line with God's purposes for our life. And nowhere is that more important than when we have those I'm done moments. Because it's in those I'm done moments where we make some of those decisions that can affect the rest of our lives. It's in those I'm done moments where we can say no to something and yes to something that changes everything. It's where when we say something to someone that maybe leaves a permanent mark. It's where we do something. It's where we end something. It's where we change something. It's where we act out or don't speak sometimes where we wish we did. And sometimes those choices can really have significant consequences. I want to start with the question, where is God in those moments? Where is God in our I'm done moments? Because one of the most important things I want to declare today is that when we say I'm done, we are in a sense godless. When we pound our fist on the table and say, I can't take it anymore, we are not harnessing and being aware of and incorporating God's power into our reality. And so we're left naked, useless, hopeless on our own. And it's absolutely crucial that we find God and rely on God in those moments where we have that feeling of being finished, empty, done. Matthew 14 is a great chapter for this because it's a chapter where Jesus had an opportunity to say, I'm done. It's where something happened to Jesus that I don't think any of us have had happen to us, maybe, but I doubt it. And he had every reason in the world to give up and to give up on his mission to help others. It starts, the story we're going to pick up, it starts at verse 13. It says, when Jesus heard what had happened, he withdrew by boat privately to a solitary place. What's going on? Well, what's going on is Jesus' cousin John had been arrested. John was a prophet and he was criticizing King Herod, the local regional governor, for taking his brother's wife into his own life, living an adulterous relationship with her and flaunting it to the community. And John the Baptist was openly criticizing this ruler for his moral decisions. Well, they decided to arrest him and put him in prison. And King Herod's wife, Herodias, just wasn't comfortable with him being alive. And so in a party scene where there's all this ego and machismo and King Herod wants to please his guests, he responds to his wife's plea to cut off John's head and to have it brought before the assembly on a silver platter. You've probably heard the expression, I want his head on a platter. It comes from Matthew 14. Jesus is brought word that his cousin, and he grew up with this guy, they're tight. Not just relationally tight, they're spiritually tight. John's entire life mission was to point the world to Jesus and announce that the Savior was here. They're family, they're blood relatives, and they're spiritually connected by the same mission. They're both on earth to initiate God's reign in Jesus. And Jesus now has just gotten word that John's head had been cut off by this brutal ruler at a party. It's like a party trick. So he's like, I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. I don't know what he would have done, but he doesn't do it. He gets in a boat, which when you get in the boat by yourself, you're planning to be by yourself. No one can follow him. He's by himself on a boat, but they hear he's going across to some mountain to be by himself. And so everybody, the word gets out, because he's a celebrity by now, and everybody walks around the lake to try to meet him there. And that's what happens next. Hearing of this, the crowds followed him on foot from the towns. So now, because people hear that Jesus is on the move and they know where he's going, word gets around to all the surrounding villages, and they start emptying out, and hundreds and even thousands of people, up to 5,000 households, families, are waiting on shore for Jesus when he gets off the boat. The question is going to be, how will the hurting Jesus deal with this needy crowd? What's he going to do? He's just had absolute tragedy happen in his life. He's here to get away. He's punched out. He's off the clock. He's pretty beat up. And now 5,000 families show up in the middle of nowhere, wanting him. What's he going to do? Verse 14 kind of surprises me. When Jesus landed and saw the large crowd, he had compassion on them and healed their sick. Somehow, Jesus, in his humanness, because he's fully human being, he feels a lot of pain right now. But he also somehow, and this is very, very hard for you and I, in the midst of his own pain and disappointment and maybe anger, he can still very clearly see the needs of other people, and he can still feel compassion towards them. I'm not very good at that. When I'm hurting, I see my pain. When I'm anxious, I see my stress. When I'm angry, I see my anger. I feel blinded in many of those circumstances to be able to see and have actual feelings for the pain of others when I'm feeling my own pain very, very strongly. Jesus sees the crowd as he's grieving the beheading of his dear, beloved cousin. And he feels compassion for them. And it says that he healed their sick. He now gets off the boat, and instead of tending to his own wounds, he tends to the wounds of the crowd. People have been carried many, many miles, many, many meters, many, many fathoms to him. And he's like, I'm going to help you. I will help you, yes. And so he starts touching people. He starts praying for people. He starts caring for people. He sends them away whole. Or actually doesn't send them away. He heals as many as there are, and probably there's hours and hours and hours of that, and they don't want to leave. And so he's teaching them, and he's talking to them, and days pass. Now you might hear that story and like, well, I'm glad that God doesn't get tired of helping us. That's good. I'm glad that God, even when he's disappointed or maybe feels angry or maybe has some version of a holy God's, disappointment towards the world or towards me, that he still feels compassion. That's good. But he's God and I'm not. And so if this story is supposed to be an analog for how I'm supposed to live, Jesus is human, but he's also God. And God may not burn out. God may not run out. God may be able to have compassion, whatever. But I still burn out. I still run out. God may not burn out or run out until he helps people, but I do burn out. I do run out. I do get to the end of my rope. I do get to the point where I say, I'm done. So how does this story apply to me? How can I use this story to guide my decision-making when I'm not an unlimited, all-powerful God in a human body? What if I feel burned out? What if something in my life that's really important to me has been cut off? What What if I need to be by myself and I need to get away from the crowd of people constantly wanting, demanding, begging, asking? What about me in those circumstances? What do I do? Well, let's read on. Verse 15, as evening approached, the disciples came to him and said, this is a remote place, and it's getting late. Send the crowds away so that they can go to the villages and buy themselves some food. They now recognize they don't have enough. They have run out of whatever they can offer this crowd. Now that Jesus is done healing, they say we lack any other resources to help this crowd, and we're going to have a problem. As they get hungrier and hungrier and hungrier, we're going to have a bigger and bigger problem because we're far away from civilization. If it gets too long, they won't be able to walk anywhere to get food. So Jesus sent them away. We're trying to head off a crisis here. We can't help them anymore. Verse 16, Jesus replied, they do not need to go away. You give them something to eat. Well, Jesus, we have here only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, they answered. So he looks at them and he even challenges them even further to declare that they don't have enough. He pushes them to the edge of that mindset, of the scarcity mindset. You give them something to eat. And their only reply is, we don't have enough. We've got 5 loaves of bread. That wouldn't barely even be enough for the 12 disciples. And you want us to feed 5,000 families. That's ridiculous. That's all we have. I think there's a lot of times where we come to terms with reality in that we don't have what it takes to make a difference, or at least that's the feeling we get. It might be after a long day, and you have to come home to a intense family situation. Maybe a spouse that's had their own busy day or frustration day and has needs to talk about. Maybe kids. Have you ever come home, parents, after a long day of work and just needed to kind of vent or have some time to yourself or whatever, but your child comes home and they had a very difficult situation come up and they need to talk about it? And you get this feeling like, I got nothing for you right now. I don't even want to hear it right now. I don't have what it takes because I'm carrying this hole around right now too. I mean, we find many, many opportunities, don't we? We find many opportunities to say, nope, I got nothing for you. I got my own issues right now. Or maybe it's you who put me here. Maybe you're the one that made me angry. You're the one that made me stressed. You're the one that made me busy. You're the one that made me frustrated, disappointed, spread too thin because you're not doing your part. And so now you want more from me. Right? This is one of the most common things in life, right? Especially if you're raising a family. I don't got what it takes. I don't have it. I don't have what it takes to make a difference. Right now or in general, look somewhere else. I think it's very easy to live just like this. I'm overwhelmed. Stop asking. And I think there are times where all we see is what we lack. Lack. I don't have enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough money. I don't have the patience. I don't have the friendships I need. I don't have the resources I need. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. I don't have enough. Lack. If you're not careful, all you will see is lack because we live in a world in which there are endless options and endless demands. You'll never be able to buy them all. You'll never be able to meet them all. And you can focus on that constantly. Lack. Jesus pushes his disciples to the point where they call out what's inside of them, and what's inside of them is lack. We don't have enough. We can't help them. Now look how he responds in verse 18. Bring them here to me, he said. He doesn't say bring the people here to me. He's not talking about the people. What's he talking about? Bring what you have to me. The thing that you say isn't enough, we'll bring it over here. Bring your perceived inadequacies to me. Bring your perceived insufficiencies to me. And what he's saying here, I think more than anything, is Jesus, his answer for our lack is Jesus. Jesus' answer for our lack is Jesus. Is are 5 loaves and 2 fish enough? Nope. So bring them to me. Jesus says, put them in my hands. And now let's see if they're good enough. My answer to your lack is bring your lack to me. My answer to your insufficiency is bring your insufficiency to me. My answer to your doubts is bring your doubts to me. My answer to your fears is bring your fears to me. My answer for your boundaries that you got to put up because you don't have what it takes is bring those things to me. Jesus' answer for your lack is Jesus. In other words, there's a lot of things we think we need at those I give up, I'm done moments that we don't actually need. At that moment when you're at the end of your rope, you don't need to protest, pout, explode, complain, quit, get revenge, gossip, hold a grudge, demand better circumstances, take drugs, fight, or give up. You don't need those things. You might think so in the moment. You need Jesus. A lot of things you could do when you hit the end of your rope. What you need, he says, is me. Verse 19. And he directed the people to sit down on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and looking up into heaven, he gave thanks, broke the loaves. Now watch this. Then he gave them not to the people. He gave them to the disciples. And the disciples gave them to the people. So did the disciples have enough? No. But did the disciples end up feeding 5,000 people? Yeah. How? Jesus. They brought their lack to Jesus, and Jesus turned their lack into something else. If you think of it this way, we will never have enough without Jesus. They could have had 1,000 loaves, and it probably wouldn't have been enough. And we'll have more than enough with Jesus. Because Jesus is utterly unlimited. He has absolute power. He is eternal, so he's never going to run out of time. He never sleeps. I mean, as a human on earth, he did. He doesn't sleep anymore. God never sleeps. He never needs rest. He never needs a break. He doesn't have a limited attention span. He can hear 8 billion people praying all at once. He knows every single hair on every single person's head. He knows what every single person will say before they say it. And with him at our side and working in us and through us, we're always going to have enough. That's what he's promising us here. If we don't have him, if we try to do life without him, we'll never have enough. But if we have him, we have more than enough. It's fun being at a church where people believe this. I'm just going to show a few examples of what happens when people believe this. Here's a picture of our teens. Instead of saying we're too busy, instead of saying we don't have enough, they give of their time to go and do things like this. They went to Project 318 or 318 Project, which prepares kind of care packs, backpacks for kids after they've been through traumatic circumstances and have to go through maybe a legal process. This gives them like a pack that's got toiletries, snacks, a teddy bear, and other things just to say, you matter, you're safe, we love you. Our kids took time to make those packs and prepare those packs for kids. Our church, we got a lot of stuff going on during the holidays. Everybody's busy, right? Everybody's too busy, right? Well, no. We ask folks if you want to help prepare Thanksgiving boxes, either donating items or delivering to people who don't have a Thanksgiving. Nominate somebody and let's mobilize to prepare and make sure they can have a Thanksgiving meal. People step up like crazy. Well, if we do that, we're too busy. We don't have enough resources to do the Christmas trees, do we? No, we do angel trees too. We ask people to nominate people who might, at Surprise and beyond Surprise in the community, who might need help with Christmas presents on a tight budget. Nominate someone, and then let's see if our community wants to help get them gifts. And we always run out of gifts to give because people grab them and want to provide for them. And we're not too busy. People at Surprise aren't too busy to meet these needs. We just heard from the food shelves in town when they're telling us that they've really, really been overrun with the huge needs that people have right now. And so we just put the word out, like, I know we got this going on, and you're busy, but if you can think of it, bring some food to church, and we'd love to help replenish the food shelves. And Sunday after Sunday after Sunday, people are bringing in groceries, and we've been driving them down to the Dream Center, and they're just like, Surprise Church is fantastic. This church is amazing. These people are great. They're just overwhelmed by the show of generosity of our people when they've heard need. There was just even one person that we heard that they need to move into a place and they don't have anything to live on and live with. And so people show up from Surprise with mattresses and dishes and whatever else living supplies are requested. And the church just responded because our people believe that God is sufficient for our needs. Again, we got a lot going on, but Miller Elementary said, will you help us replenish our food shelves? We said, what do you guys really need? Well, how about peanut butter? So we decided we're going to make, even though we got a lot going on and we could maybe not do it, and we could have all kinds of reasons to say no because we're limited, what if we just tried it out? And one Sunday a month, let's just collect peanut butter for the food shelf. And so we do peanut butter Sundays. And our people show up with peanut butter. And then we bring it there and they're like, man, this church. Every single month, Surprise Church has launched the Mercy Box movement. We have dozens of red Mercy Boxes all over Bismarck, Mandan, Lincoln. And every month, nonprofits come to us and say, will you collect for our nonprofit? We pick 12 different nonprofits every year. And every month, our website says, here's what we're collecting. And us at Surprise on Sundays and these businesses and organizations locally collect goods. And then we deliver a mountain of stuff to each nonprofit that they might need to run their nonprofit and serve their people. Every single month we do that, and every single month God's people respond. This Sunday at Surprise, like we do oftentimes, we're going to have a meal, but guess what? Instead of saying we don't have enough food to feed all the people that are going to be at church, we say we'll figure it out, God will provide it, and we just put a sign-up sheet out there, and most of the time we have more food than we need because you, Surprise Church, shows up with food to share, and we have leftovers. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Every year we do the generosity party at Surprise, in which we just say, hey, let's ask God to shape our giving, saving, and spending. And we challenge folks in our community, take some time every year, go to this webpage, pray about your giving, saving, and spending. Just build a prayer-based budget. Ask God to take the lead in your finances. Most people don't pray about it and struggle financially, but when we ask God to shape our giving, saving, and spending, something happens. We put him in charge. We trust him. We trust an unlimited God with areas in which we would otherwise feel very, very limited and scarce. And amazing things happen. And we always have, every year we say, when you do that, one of the byproducts of doing this is that you're knowing what you're going to give next year. So help us as a church build a prayer-based budget. And so people go online, they submit a digital or physical estimate, a giving card, and then we as a church plan our budget based on the prayers of our members. And I'm always overwhelmed by the generosity of people who say, right now, you can count on me to donate towards the Surprise mission next year. Here's what you can count on. We just have people that are generous, even though there's life and busyness and bills and costs and expenses and inflation and this and that. We have so many people who are saying, count on me. I want to support this mission. Every single week at Surprise, we need over 50 volunteers just to do what we do, whether it's small groups, community groups, kids, nursery, media, setup, worship, greeting, food, snacks. The list goes on and on and on. And every single week, people sign up, give up their time, and let God work and move through them. Somebody forgot to tell this church that we lack. Somebody forgot to tell you. It's an honor being a pastor where people simply believe that our limits simply get brought to God, who is not limited, and we can do amazing things with his help together. See, the lie of lacking says this: I will run out or burn out if I help, share, or give. It's a lie. It's as if God doesn't exist. The lie of lacking says, presently, I am burned out and have nothing to offer right now. That's a lie. That's a myth. It's not true. When you say, I don't have any more patience, that's not true. When you say, I don't have any more tolerance or kindness or grace, it's not true because you're not on your own. John and Stacey Eldridge have both written great Christian books, and John Eldridge's most famous book is Wild at Heart. It's a book for men that challenges men to live into their God-given identities. And he was talking about that moment where he said, I'm done once. He was driving with his wife, Stacey, and she was just nitpicking at his driving as if he didn't know where they were going. And it was enough over the drive, and it wasn't big, mean things. It was just, are you sure you know where you're going? He said, I had this moment where I just said to myself, I want a divorce. And then his next words were, I'm serious. He had a moment where he said, I'm done. This just pushed me over the edge. And if you live on your own without God driving the ship of your life, your I'm done moments are really final I'm done moments. You are done if God isn't there to pour into and backfill and resupply and fill in the gaps in your life. Those moments are game-changing, life-breaking moments if God isn't there to provide and guide. Of course, He is there, but if we don't recognize that and rely on that, those moments can directly change the course of our lives. So is this saying you don't have needs, you don't have limits, so just always say yes? No. That's not what this passage is telling us. It's not saying ignore your needs and limits. Jesus still took time outside of this environment to pray by Himself and heal by Himself and cry and ask His disciples to pray for Him. He still did that. He didn't ignore His needs. But in this moment, He wasn't limited to His own needs because He could still see the needs of others, and He relied on God to meet those needs. This story doesn't say ignore your own needs and boundaries. It's saying rely on Jesus to meet your needs and make your plans. Don't rely on your own impulses. Don't rely on your own feelings. Don't rely on your own perceived limits as if God isn't real and doesn't care. Look at how the story ends. Matthew 14, verse 20. They all ate. All 5,000 families ate and were satisfied. And the disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces that were left over. 12 basketfuls. The 12 disciples got 12 basketfuls. One basket for every disciple. They started with 5 loaves and 2 fish, utter insufficiency, and they each end up with a basket of leftovers. The number of those who ate, just to clarify the numbers, just to clarify the math, was about 5,000 men, besides women and children. Jesus, hear me, church, Jesus turns our lack into leftovers. That thing that you don't think you have any more patience for, that situation that you're at the end of your rope, that relationship that you need to cut off, maybe you do. Maybe God's saying, that's unhealthy, get out of it. Or maybe He wants to turn your lack into leftovers. He wants to do something in that relationship in which kindness and grace and peace and forgiveness is finally needed. And you don't have to do it by yourself. He wants to do it through you. Haven't you ever, and this has happened to me many times, been in a situation with someone you care about, but you're at odds with, and you thought, I'm done. And then you pause and you go and you pray, God, will you give me more patience for this person? Will you give me more understanding? Will you give me some compassion? And them for me? And you come back and all of a sudden you can talk it through. That is life with Jesus. He turns our lack into leftovers. So I want to challenge you this week to start noticing those moments where you start believing the lie and declare the lie to be a lie. Say to yourself, where have I been deceived into believing that Jesus has nothing to give or forgive through me? What part of my life do I believe I'm done, there's nothing God can do, nothing I can do, I'm just going to react, I'm just going to cut it off, I'm going to get revenge, I'm going to stick it to the man. Where have I been deceived into thinking that Jesus has nothing to give or forgive through me? And the reality is, the truth needs to be declared that we are not alone and on our own. Jesus turns lack into leftovers. So this week, look for an area where you're tempted to say, I lack, and give up, and instead say, how about I bring this lack, where I on my own am insufficient, but I bring it now to Jesus, who doesn't lack, who isn't limited, and can do anything. Let's pray. Father in heaven, teach us how to do that. That is the life of faith, taking our limits to the one who has no limits, taking our finite human reality to a God who is infinite. We always come to the end of ourselves. You have arranged the world in such a way that we constantly find ourselves inadequate on our own. But instead of assuming that that's the way it's supposed to be, help us to use every single moment in which we feel that way as an opportunity to run to you, rely on you, cling to you, call upon you, and then carry your leftovers into the world. Thank you that we are not alone and that you turn lack into leftovers. Do that through us in Jesus' name. Amen. Thanks for listening, everybody. We will see you soon.